Yes.
Yes.
Yay. Okay. So the spreadsheet already contains the information that I'm going to need in order to complete my mail merge. The next piece of information that I'm going to need, or the next document, is the actual document that I want to merge all this information to. And remember that the whole point of the mail merge, the function is to create custom forms of some type for everyone. It could be for 5 people, it could be for 5,000 people, but so that everybody ends up with their information pertinent solely to them. So this makes quick work of this. I am going to open I'm going to reshare again. Okay, you see the Word document now?
Yep. Yes.
Perfect. So I created this Word document, and let's say that this was from the previous test cycle, and I don't want it for October 8th. I need to change this date for April 29th because I'm going to use it this time around. So it is best to have your document completed and saved before you start the actual process, but know that your end product can be edited as you go along. So you're getting ready to do the mail merge and you find an error like that, fix it. You don't have to close out and come back in, just fix it. We're going to resave to make sure that we have that. So when you go to do a mail merge, you're always going to use the Mailings tab. You click on Mailings, and you get this bar. And you're going to notice that there's only a few icons that are active right now to you. And as you move across, you see only the first 4 light up. This one does not, this one does not, and none of the others do. Because these are the ones that initiate the process. And it kind of depends on how basic you want to start. What I have found is that there's a whole lot of steps that you can avoid and just cut to the chase, right? So I already have my document. I don't need to let them know that I'm going to start a mail merge because I'm here. So obviously I'm starting a mail merge. So I'm just going to select my recipient list, which is my database. So I've got my document. What am I putting in this document? This is where it's housed, right here in Select Recipients. You click there and you say, well, are you going to type a new list? No, clearly not, because I've already created my database. So I'm going to go to Use an Existing List. I'm going to click on that, and my box is going to open for me to select my file. My file I've got located in Desktop, and I'm going to do the FDM list, and I'm going to open it. And it's going to show me it has only one sheet. If it had numerous sheets, all the sheets would be listed here, and you would have to select the correct sheet. Well, I'll show you that at the end. So it's already selected. I click OK. You're going to see all these just activated. Remember how before we would come across and none of them were active? Now we can select all sorts of things up here. So we already have address block. We already have greeting line because we've already formatted our document. So I can bypass these 2 things. I'm going to go straight to inserting my merge fields because that's where I'm at in my document. My document is fully prepared and ready to just start dumping the data into it. So I'm going to go to the first field. It's homeroom. I'm going to click up here, and it's going to give me a listing by headers of everything that's on my recipient list. So I'm going to say, okay, let me have homeroom. I need it placed there. Insert. Okay. Now I'm going to go to, and here I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to say last, comma, comma, space, then I'm going to say, give me the first, space, and then I'm going to give me the middle initial. So this is telling it, and the way that this is going to read the spreadsheet in Excel is that it's going to go row by row. So the first row, the first document is going to capture that first row for the first student all the way across. After it completes this document, then it's going to move down to the database on the spreadsheet and capture that second student's individual information. So we're going to proceed. Student ID, grade, right here in grade, room number, come up here, here's my room number, test administrator, TA. Make sure I don't have anything else, and it looks like I'm good to go. But this tells you nothing. So we need to make sure that the database is being read correctly. And we want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to come up here to preview results. ABC preview results. I'm going to click on that, and what it does is that it populates it. So the very first student in this, I have Pamela Beasley, student ID 1, grade 10 in ALX homeroom, room number 101, and Mrs. Abigail Adams is going to be the proctor or the test administrator. As I go across, you see the student name is changing. Andrew Bernard now, Chandler Bing, each with their respective information. Now I realized, okay, I've set this up by homeroom, but maybe I'm thinking now, let me give it, for whatever reason, I decide that I want this organized by the test administrator, because right now, if you look at homeroom doesn't change until record 20. So the first 19 students belong to this homeroom, and this marker here is what's showing you what record you're on. If I want to change and I want to say, no, I need to reorder this, I need to reorganize this, I'm going to take preview results off. I'm going to come back over here to edit recipient list. What that enables me to do is that I can resort my list from within the mail merge. So this avoids me scrapping this whole thing, going back into Excel, resorting the list in Excel, and reloading the whole thing all over again. This time, I'm just going to come here, and I'm going to say, no, I want it sorted by the test administrator. And this is your test administrator. If I click on this header, see how it just reorganized everything? If I click on it, I clicked on it twice, and it gave me high to low. Oh no, it's going because of the Mrs. and the Mr. But it's grouping them by test administrators. So you can do it that way. If I wanted to do it by room number, I could click on room number, and then I would get them all, room 101 first, room 102 first, 103, etc. If I wanted to do it by last name, student last name, and I just wanted straight alpha, I would click here. It would give it to me straight alpha. The point is that however you organize it here is what you'll end up with in the document. So right now, I just reorganized it by test administrator. So we should have Frederick starting first, which is Suarez. Well, right. So it's going to be crazy with the homeroom, see? Because we're not doing the hierarchy or the sorting through homeroom. If we do it through homeroom, we start with ALX. If we do it through test administrator, we're starting with Frederick. So let's click OK. Last time, our sort was happening at this data point. Now our sort is happening down here. So the first 19 are Frederick Douglass. You can just jump forward by entering the record number there and hitting enter. And the change now happens at 21. And we go to Mr. George Washington. Okay. Once you're happy with it and you're ready to preview results, or all of a sudden you have this epiphany and you're like, gosh, I wonder if I created a pass for Derek Jeter. I can come here and I can go to find recipient. What am I looking for?
Cheater.
Is that how we spell it? And we do a find, and here he is, Derek Jeter, record 15. If I was in the middle of printing and that one got skipped, two pages rolled through, or it got smudged, or I spilled coffee on it and I have to reprint that one, I'm not going to reprint the whole record. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look for just the one student that I'm looking for, do a find. Let's see. There's no Donalds. Let me see who else we have here. Let's look for Anthony. Put it in, find. We have Anthony Soprano. Do we have any other Anthonys? No other Anthonys. Anthony Soprano is record 16. So when I come here to finish and merge, I'm satisfied. I've got everything I need. I'm very happy with my documents, and I'm ready to print. I go to finish and merge. I say print the document. And you notice, by the way, you could also send email messages. So if you had one of these fields with an email message, if you send email messages, you would indicate that that's the field that contains the email messages, and off they would go. So you don't have to do each individual email. So, but in this case, we're going to print the document. So we click here, print document, and you say, okay, what am I printing? If, let's say, you're printing 257 forms and the printer got jammed, or you found an error at form the 50 through 100, you don't have to reprint everything. You come in here and you say, okay, I just want forms 50 through 100 reprinted. And you print that section. In this, because we haven't printed anything yet, the first time print, you're going to run everything. So you're going to say print all records and click OK. If you're sitting on the record that you want, like I am here, I've got Anthony Soprano, then I would say click the current record. If I'm not sitting on the record that I want, but I know that range 22 through 35 need to be reprinted because I intended to print them on a different colored paper, and I forgot when I was running them through the printer, or I've now decided I want to print them on a different colored paper for whatever reason, I can print just that group. So that's the basic functionality of this program. Now, what are some of the things that you can do? If you switch back to preview results, you can come here. You can change the way that your information is going to look. You can change all sorts of things. Let's say you want that name or that student ID to be real prominent. You can do that. Let's say you don't like just that by itself, but you've decided you're going to change this up as well. It will apply it to every single record, so long as you're out of preview results and you're making the changes within the bracketed fields, because the bracketed fields is what's telling the program, apply this across the entire spreadsheet. And you can do that anywhere in here. So this is a single document that's being changed over. You can do very much the same thing. I'm going to log out for this a minute. And I'm going to bring in, I am going to bring in another document type. This time we're going to do passes. So this time, instead of using one sheet per student, this one's been formatted for 3 different students on a single page. So things change a little bit here, not by much, but there's a couple of little things that you have to keep in mind and you need to remember when you're setting this one up. Again, you're going to go to mailings. Again, you're going to go to select recipient. We're using select recipient. We're using an existing list. We come to the existing list. We say, let's get my file. We're going to use the same file, the same information, and we're going to click OK. Everything became activated up here, so I know that the file uploaded successfully. I am going to go to the first section or the first area that I want. I'm going to come in here to insert field, and I'm going to put last name, comma, space.
Dharma, we still see your list of files.
Oh, thank you. Now you see it, right? Are you guys seeing the Word document? Okay, good. So we uploaded here. We uploaded here the recipient list like we had before. We used an existing file. It opened up the browser. We went to the file that we needed. We clicked on it, and all these buttons activated. We go straight to the insert mail merge after we put our cursor where we want the first field to appear. We come here and we say, what do I want there? I want last name, comma, space, first name, space, middle initial. What do we want here? We want the grade. Student ID is going in the next one. Homeroom. And then room. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put, again, student name. Grade. And you're seeing that everything's going wonky on me, right? These boxes have opened up, the alignment, I've lost some of the alignment and some of the spacing I had. Don't freak out because it's simply accommodating these bracketed fields. Once this populates, everything will go back to its original format. And you'll see it now. And let's do the last one, student name. And now I'm intentionally creating an error, and I want to see if you guys pick up on this error when we generate the file. Grade, student ID. Okay. So what's our next step? Our next step is to review what we've done and make sure it's coming out correctly. So let's preview the results. I see Pamela Beasley. Hold on, I see Pamela Beasley again and Bernard Andrew. What happened here? Okay. There's an error somewhere. The error is happening when you see that the same information is being repeated multiple times. You've missed a very important step. So I'm going to take us out of preview results. I'm going to put my cursor here, and I'm putting it here because this is where the error is occurring. Pamela Beasley should only be showing up on my first record. So what happened here? What happened here is that I forgot to tell the program, I forgot to give it the rule. I forgot to say, look, I know there's multiple things on this one page, and I know that you think that you're designed to think one page, one row of information, next page, next row of information. But I need you now to do the first block on this page as one row of information, the second block as a second row of information, and the third as a third. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, look, the rule is that I want you to include the next record here. And you're going to see bracketed next record. And it's going to look like, wait, what? I don't want anything to appear there. It's okay. This bracketed next record is the key for the program to know I need to go down to the next row of information on the data sheet. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Next record. Now let's see what it looks like. Pamela Beasley, Andrew Bernard, Philip Collins. We're good. We got room 101. Again, this has been sorted by homeroom. I can come in here to my edit recipient list. I can look at this again. And I can do it by straight alpha on the students if I wanted to. And there you go. Brian Adams, Christina Aguilar, Pamela Beasley, so on and so forth. So here's where I want you to kind of think outside the box on some of the stuff. When you have a situation where I use this a lot, mail merge, and I know that this was supposed to be a 15-20 minute session, but this is a pretty complicated process, I think, for people to get. And the reason that I tell you that is that the more you use it, you're going to realize that it has its idiosyncrasies that are going to drive you a little crazy if you don't have the heads up going into it. So I want to take a minute to show you some of those idiosyncrasies. For one thing, see how our student IDs have leading zeros a lot of the time. And you see that this does not provide any leading zeros. That's a formatting issue. So there's a couple of things, a couple of workarounds. This is the data sheet that we're using to create the passes. And if you notice, we have 7 digits in there, but it's a lot of leading zeros. In order for these leading zeros to show up, you have to convert this number to a text. Now, a lot of you guys do that by just selecting the column. You're seeing the Excel sheet, right? Okay. A lot of you guys know how to do this by just selecting the column, doing a right click, formatting the cells, and saying, just give me general and, well, actually, she had already had it formatted. Custom. Okay. And we go to general, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we tell the computer, this is what I want it to look like with the 7 digits. But that is just an Excel. When this transitions over to mail merge is not looking at it doesn't even see those leading zeros. So what you have to do is you have to open a column, insert, and there's a simple little formula. You go equals, open parentheses, no, I'm sorry, equals text, open parentheses, quotes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, close quotes, close parentheses. So it's equals text, open parentheses, open quotes, do your 7 zeros, close quotes, close parentheses. Once you have to reference the cell, F2, comma. Okay, so now I'm telling it, I need to convert to text. The information in cell F2, which is the address of my cell, and I need it to be formatted into 7 digits or 7 characters. I click enter. I double click and it fills. It automatically sends that, that formula all the way down. I am now going to take the selected information, right click, click copy, right click again. This time I'm going to paste as 1, 2, 3. In other words, get rid of the formula and give me values. What's the difference? If you look here, look up at the bar here, you see a formula. I don't want to keep that formula. I need the machine to just convert it to text and leave it as text. So I'm going to select the whole column again. And if you see, if you click all the way down, it's assigned this formula to everything in that column. So I'm going to select the whole column. I'm going to right click, copy, right click, value 1, 2, 3. And now it's an actual value. The formula's gone. So now when I go back, my Word document, and I say, let me get rid of this. Okay, so here's one of the idiosyncrasies with mail merge. If I try to reload this file again, it says it's already here. So it won't let me override the file that I already have in there. So what I'm going to do is, actually, let's try it. We're going to go select recipients, use an existing list. Go back here. Let's get the list again. Okay. All right. And see that it didn't take. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's do it one more time. Shoot. I'm going to try to pull it again. And it's still not taking. And I've already put my changes in. Although, let me see. So let me show you something. It did override it this time. And the reason that I know that it overrode it is because, see this F5? Everything in my other, here it is. Everything in my other file had headers. F5 is a column that you didn't give a header to. It'll be F1 for the first column, F2 for the second, F3, so on and so forth. So if you see something with an F, that's a column that doesn't have a header. So in this case, I've identified it that it's F5. So I'm just going to say, okay, go back and see where I have student ID in here. I don't want student ID in here anymore because now I created this F5. And the F5 has all the leading zeros. So if I change that first one, let's change, whoops, student ID, F5, and student ID, whoops, student ID, where'd you go? F5. Now when we view everything, we see all 7 characters. Word of caution, when you print these out and you get ready to cut them, you will create a colossal mess if you don't keep things in order. You've printed everything in a specific order, so when you cut, the way that I would do it is I would cut a batch and lay them out in the same order that they printed in before I cut them. Does that make sense? So I would take and cut everything, and I'd make sure that Marino's stack was up top, then the Marti, and then Parks. So then as I went picking up material, I'm moving down and then come back up and start again with the next one, next one, next one, come back out. And so you keep everything in the order that it was printed in. Does that make sense? Okay. This is also extremely useful. Let me show you another for ideas for you guys, another idea that this is how I used to do my authorization tickets. And this is what I was talking to you about at the beginning of this session. I would put my student ID here, or my student name, the school ID, the student school ID, the DOB, the exam, in this case it was Algebra 1 that I was prepping, and then the FLE ID. Here under username, I would put the password. The passwords are available to you guys through Tide. Tide has, and so does Pearson. They have the passwords. So you download the sheet, you match it, you do an Excel match, an index match, and incorporate it into your file download manager file that you've already generated. So you just open a new column and you bring that information in by doing an index match that matches from the Tide list to your FDM list using the FLE ID as your common denominator. That's a whole other lesson that's going to be taught later on. Then here I would provide them 2 slots. Session ID for day 1, and if a second session ID was used, please write the number below. The students would fill this in for me. Day 1 testing, day 2 testing. By and large, most had just 1 session ID per day. But you know that there are times where they get kicked out, locked out, whatever, and a whole nother session needs to be created. If the teacher forgot to write down the previous session ID that was in use, they would have to open up a whole new session, and then they were on another session. I would also have them sign their day 1 here and day 2. And really the reason for this signature was because I had them acknowledge these policies. The advantage to this was that if anybody came complaining about a student being invalidated because he was caught with a phone, a parent in particular, I would pull this ticket and I'd say, well, you know, he read this. It was given to him as part of the script. In addition, the test authorization ticket that he signed off on had these policies in place. And that was it. It shut them down immediately. So that was most helpful. In addition, like I said before, if there was a problem later on at the time of score reporting, a student didn't have a score, which happened to me. Student didn't have a score, they couldn't find him in the system, I was able to go in here and pull my ticket and find the session IDs and he did in fact have 2 session IDs. They found him and they were able to score him, generate the score, and problem solved. One of the things that I did when I would create this list as part of my database, I would make sure that I would record for each student their test date and their testing room. And that was part of the download on the data, the Excel file that I was uploading and using as a data file. The reason I did this, and then I would organize this by my list before uploading, because remember that when you're in mail merge, you can only sort by one criteria. In Excel, you can sort by multiple criterias. Okay, so I would do in Excel a sort by the test date, the testing room, and the student name, so that within the testing room, it was alphabetized by student name. So it made it easier to pass out the material. And that's what you have to do. You have to streamline everything. You have to think, you know, where can I cut corners? The only place to cut corners is to be super organized and to know a lot of these little tricks that can help you cut down on your work time, on the actual development of all this stuff. So by doing this, if I got a stack, because I would run the entire, let's say, ELA administration, 9th and 10th grade, well, that would generate 1,000 pages, right? Because I had about 500 kids per grade level. So, but now I could just quickly flip through that bottom right-hand corner, and when there was a break in room number, I knew that's one session, and it goes in that file folder for that test administrator. And then I could do it for the next group, and it made quick work of things. So little tips along the way that can really help. And
Yes.
okay. So you're going to go to mailings again. And you're going to say labels, because that's what you're going to do, or labels. But you need to pick the labels that you're doing. And on your label boxes, and also on the bottom edge or the top edge, it always tells you, or usually tells you, the type of label that you're dealing with. So you come here and you say, what are my options? It pulls up the menu. And you say, okay, well, what label is this? And you look at your box, and it's more than likely, where are my Averys? Quarter page. Oh, because I'm in Microsoft. You come down here and you pick the Avery label. So Avery US label. And I think at the office I use 5961. So I'm going to look for that number. And here it is, address label. So I pick what I want. It's going to give me here, the label is 1 inch high and 4 inches long, and it's formatted on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I click OK. And I say, okay, give me a new document that looks just like this. And there I have formatted the labels. So now I say, okay, well, I got to go back to mailings again. And I need to select my recipients. I'm going to use an existing list. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the same FDM list that I was using earlier. And I'm going to say, okay. All right. And here are my fields. So quick step. You're going to go to labels. You're going to select the labels that you're using. You're going to select your recipients. In other words, your database. What Excel file are you going to use for this? It opens everything, and then you go to and you start your insert merge. So you're going to say, okay, I need this by last name, student, first name, middle initial.
I'm not sure if it's just me, but I can't see anything.
Yeah, we just see the blank document.
Okay, hold on. Now?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up and let's go through this again. Okay, so we're going to go again through the process. You had seen how we did the labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
We created the new document with the label after we selected the label that we wanted. Then we selected our recipient list the same way that you will for any and every mail merge that you do. You're always going to come here and select the recipient. Now, all of these are populated, so if you wanted to do a greeting line, you could come here. Dear, whoever your person is, sir, madam. If you wanted to do that, you could do that. In this case, we're not going to do that because I'm going to say, okay, this is one of my students, so I need the student ID here. I want to come down a line, and I want to do the name, skip a couple, and let's say that I'm labeling something for the Algebra 1 test. Let's see. And here I'm just going to put let's say this was the test room number. Okay. And maybe I'm just making labels, and I'm going to stick the labels on some kind of index card with additional instructions and get them out to all the kids. I've got the first one done, but you still have 19 others that you have to deal with. If you take this information, so long as you're in this format with the bracketed fields, you can take this and my suggestion is think about things. So let's preview it. Are you happy with it? If you're not happy with it, what do you want changed? Okay, well, I think I want the name to be bold and slightly larger so that it facilitates this process and mistakes aren't made and the wrong information isn't given to the wrong student. So am I happy with that? Well, you know what? I'm thinking maybe this I am going to put over and justify it on the left just to make that information stand out. Let me go back and see what that looks like. And if you see what I did there, you can at any time go to any of these other tabs and use them. If you want to get back to your document and manipulating this data portion of the document, you always have to go back to mailings. Okay? So if I'm happy with this and I think, okay, yeah, I'm good with that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off of preview. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to Control C, which is my shortcut for copy, put my cursor and paste. Cursor, paste, cursor, paste. You could also grab multiples. Whoa, see, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did not. And you're going to find that some of this stuff, it is a little cantankerous. If you see, look at what it's doing. See how it moved my room?
Dharma, I'm sorry. This was choosing the setting of one label, right? Single label.
This is labels. It's a label
Right.
sheet. Right.
But at the beginning, I think it asks you if you want all the labels the same or.
Okay, so remember, when you're doing a label sheet, if you're doing a single label, you don't need mail merge. You pull up the label template, you put the information on whichever label you're going to print. If the first 5 labels of your sheet are missing, then, you know, if these labels are gone from your sheet and this is the first label that's available, then just put your information there and print.
Okay.
You know, but this is to create multiple labels at once.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, and as I was saying before, you can see that the copy paste has wreaked havoc with this initial, and it will do that every once in a while. So it does require cleanup. So let's say I come back here, I go to home and say, no, I need that justified. Sometimes I'll try this and see if this works. Sometimes it does. And Control. Oh, and look at that. This time it's taking. So basically what I did here is I formatted the first row because this is nothing more than a table. You guys understand that? And then let's get all this stuff. And let's say, because all it did was shift stuff down. There we go. All right. So we have everything formatted the way we want. So let's take a look at it and see what it's looking like. Well, if we preview results, we've got the same label 20 times. Obviously, that is not what we want. Remember that when we first did the passes, I told you that there was something that needed to be done. There's a command that needs to be included in here to allow the program to know, go down to the next row. So that's going to be found under rules, and it's going to be the next record. So this is, yeah, and this is where you have to think also, how do I want my end product to look? Do I want the flow of information going down and then starting back up, or do I want it to go left to right? So I want it to go left to right. So I'm going to say, this is my first one. This is my starting one. So it doesn't need to say next record or anything. This is going to be for sure the first field. So this one is where I want the next record. And then after it does that one, I want it to jump over here. So next record there. Next record there. Next record. Now watch. Beasley, Bernard, Bing, Collins, Geller. But then it continues with Geller all the way through because we stopped our next record here. Okay, is this making sense? Yes, no, baby? See? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So what we're going to do is take it off of the preview again, finish our document, next record, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to take the time to sit here and show you over and over again, but eventually you'll end up with a finished product, and then you print it, and you've got everything exactly how you want it.